Hell yeah. I'm going to show you how to get this too. Let's do it. Since the release of update 1.11, much of the buzz has been around finding the most efficient credit farming route in the rebalanced GT7 events. Today, I'm going to show you a less publicized method, though arguably the single most efficient one to get a ton of credits because it will get you 6 million credits in under an hour. That method is to complete all gold in the Nordschleife circuit experience. It goes without saying that this is geared toward at least intermediate, if not advanced level drivers. You need to have a solid knowledge of the Nordschleife and be flexible enough to learn the eccentricities of the BMW M6 GT3 Endurance, which is a peculiar handling car to say the least, especially with traction control disabled. This is a spiritual successor to our License IA10 video, where I showed you how to get gold on the hardest Nürburgring license test with both controller and the official GT7 wheel. Today, we'll be running through the individual sectors to learn the track, after which we'll string it all together in one glorious 6 million credit lap. So stay tuned and subscribe for more GT7 tutorials. So I think this might be around the 6th attempt of this first section. I thought this would be a lot easier than it actually was. I had to relearn how to drive the car through this sector because it's quite different to every other sim I've driven. As you can see, I've got the traction control on 1. This is basically training wheels for me as I learn the throttle behavior of this car. It's very, let's say, not GT3-like. Bit of a snap on the exit there. As you can see, the car is a bit understeery off the throttle, extremely oversteery on the throttle, so you need very good throttle control, and as soon as you get a wheel out onto the grass there, it just wants to spin out on you, so you have to be very aggressive on the curbing, but just make sure not to cut too much onto the grass, because that can end your lap prematurely. Definitely one of the hardest sectors here at Heusinkveld. So this sector is a lot easier than the first one. I think it only took about 2 attempts to do. It was essentially trying to work out whether this was a lift or a blip on the brake. Turns out it's just a partial lift and then back on the throttle. Carry as much speed as you possibly can, but of course you have to be careful on the throttle. Even though I do have the TC on, the car still occasionally wants to snap out on you. Going over the crest here and now into Heusinkveld. A little bit of a slight lift through there, but a partial lift. 50% lift, and then on the brake the moment the curbing on the left runs out, into 3rd gear, hugging the inside as close as possible, get on the throttle, maintain the speed. You can use a bit of the exit curb, but I snapped a little bit towards the end, still made it across the line with a tenth to spare. Another slightly easier stage here. The foxhole is basically brain off, just plant the throttle, flat foot, get the line right, try and work out your brake point here and how much of the inside curb you're going to cut. So brake maybe at the white sign on the right, cut the curb as much as you can, down 2 gears, hug the inside, finish out towards the left side of the track, do the little V shape through here in 2nd. Now you can do this in 1st as well, that might in retrospect have been better. Slight snap on the exit for me, but still a comfortable lap time across the line with about 2 tenths to spare. This section was a little bit more tricky. It took a couple of attempts as we go past everybody's favorite tree on the left here. Slight lift through here. Well, by slight I mean actually tap on the brake and a complete lift. Brake hard once the curbing runs out on the right, down to 3rd, hug the inside. You've got to keep it nice and clean. The car is very unbalanced off throttle here, down to 2nd gear. Nice apex there, can't get on the throttle too hard. The TC actually saving me there. The car would have snapped otherwise. Off the throttle and then back on. Now we do a hit, miss, right through here, not too bad, not too bad. Hugging the left side of the track, braking hard while turning into the slowest turn on the track. Down to 1st, reasonably clean through there. Losing a bit of power with the traction control kicking in. Oh, a bit of a snap on the exit, as per usual, across the finish line with about a tenth and a bit to spare. This section, another fairly straightforward one. Braking at the end of the curb there, down to 3rd gear, coasting, trying not to go too much on the outside curb. Now very, very delicate through here, cut through the inside, can't plant the throttle on the exit because you will spin out there even with traction control on. This section all flat out, just maintain the line, cut across that apex as cleanly as possible, and then hard on the brakes, down to 3rd gear, just wrap it on the inside. I understeered a little bit, but still not too terrible. Got a reasonable exit out of there, maybe robbed a little bit by the traction control, across for a very comfortable finish with almost 2 tenths to spare. Another very fun section. The game skips past the entire flat out uphill sector here, basically just lift tap on the brake turn in, right on the power immediately after, don't even need to drop the gear. In GT3s in real life, that's literally just a partial lift through there. Now braking hard as soon as the curb appears on your left, down to second, wrap it around. Nice hairpin through here, don't snap too much on the exit as I did there, but still a comfortable finish, believe it or not. Well, comfortable with about 15 milliseconds left to spare, so try and avoid that snap on the exit. Believe it or not, this sector is just the carousel. It gets its own sector, that's how important it is. Drop down to second, land in, just finesse it through the carousel, cut across the apex there, keep it tight across the exit, and for a relatively comfortable finish, you only get 13 seconds to do this, so you have to keep it fairly clean. So this might look familiar to you. It's the exact same portion of the sector that license IA10 is, except this time you're in a much more well-balanced car than in that license test. However, the trick is the timing is a lot more tight, so you need a much better line in order to make it, I say as I completely understeer and botch that turn. So I still have my training wheels, aka TC at 1. You would definitely have a quicker time through here if you disable traction control outright, which I will show you later. But you can actually still do this test with the traction control at 1. As long as you keep everything as tight as possible, lines need to be very efficient and clean. Try and avoid scrubbing as much speed as you can. Getting on the throttle here, braking for Brunchen. Now on the power, using a bit of the exit, the dirt on the exit there, brake nice and early, keep it tight through here. The track will try and spit you out wide due to the natural cambering. Bit of a snap on the exit, but still cross the line with, wow, believe it or not, 10 milliseconds to spare. So very tight tolerances through here. This section of the track, while being very fun, is probably one of the more challenging ones, especially if you don't know the Nordschleife all too well. Try and memorize my lines through here if you're not familiar with this section of track. It tends to get quite undulant and bumpy. Brake as soon as you hit that compression, turn in, drop a gear. Now, I'm of course doing this without TC. I've decided to drop the training wheels for the first time. I'm finding the car rotates better, it's a bit more predictable. This is all flat out with a partial lift into here, maybe like a 10% lift, and then flat out through this whole section up to 6th gear. Your marker here is the orange on the right, cross it, straighten up, brake, drop a gear, keep it tight to the right, drop 2 gears here, tight to the apex, don't run out too wide, you can shoot out very easily across the finish line with a very, very comfortable 42.5 finish. Fairly straightforward section here, starting off with the mini carousel, do that in 3rd, pop right out, try not to spin on the exit, hard to do with the TC off. I'm still keeping my training wheels off. In 4th, blip the brake, turn in, keep it nice and tight, use the aero, lean on the aero, lift, and then back on the throttle, keep it nice and tight through here. The exit through here is all that matters. That's where all the time is potentially gained or lost. You get a decent exit through there. We're at 23.6, almost 3/10 left to spare. Almost at the end now, we're hitting the very final sector of the Nordschleife. This is a massive deceleration zone, so it really requires a lot of brake finesse because you need to be braking while turning at the same time. We cross both curbs as soon as we straighten up the car, hard on the brakes while rotating, dropping down 2nd gear, eating that curb on the inside there, gradually on the throttle. It's very easy to spin there, brake nice and hard, down to 1st gear, keep it tight, use a bit of the exit curbing if you can, up to 2nd gear, and across the finish line for a fairly comfortable finish, about 2.5 left. And now it's time to put it all together in our 6 million credit golden lap around the Nordschleife. Let's do it. The Big Daddy lap, here we go. I've taken the training wheels off completely. I feel comfortable enough to do this correctly. So here we go, into Hudson Buck again. We've taken the Sabine Schmitz curve a little bit strangely. There's a bit of trepidation in my driving. I still don't feel 100% comfortable. This car flips from full grip to no grip very quickly, as you're about to see. Massive snap on the exit there as I get on the throttle. I'm almost in disbelief at this point, but decided to commit to the lap anyway. Going ahead. The rest of it isn't too bad. It's relatively clean. Very interesting, the handling of GT3 cars here in GT7. Quite unlike any other sim I've driven. Definitely not as much grip under the rear tires, especially while accelerating, that I would kind of expect, especially given the footage I've seen in real life, but it is what it is. Slight lift through here, through Flugplatz, nice and fast. Our gold trophy time is 6:37.8, which is a pretty respectable, pretty decent GT3 time. So we definitely have to step on the gas, as it were, and really make the time work for us. That's why I decided to turn the traction control off. Braking hard for Arenberg here, down into 3rd, keeping it nice and tight through there, on the throttle, very gradually, down into the foxhole, properly using the curb this time, unlike the individual sector before. Flat out, Give yourself some time to think. Try and set up the next turn into Adenauer Force. Now we're going to brake from the right side of the track at the white sign, cut as much of the inside as we can, down 2 gears, keep it nice and tight through here, drop 1 gear, drop a 2nd gear, nice and tight through Adenauer Force, lift and coast, on the throttle, try not to spin out there. It's difficult. It's when the boost kicks in, it's almost like there's like a delayed torque response in this car, which is not what you'd expect from a GT3, and as soon as you get into those higher revs, it just wants to spin out. Braking hard there into 3rd again, coming up into what's traditionally called or known as Sector 2 of the track, before we broke it up into 11 sectors for GT7 circuit experience. Nice and tight through there, pretty decent exit. As you can see, by the time I've gotten to this point, I've gotten a bit of experience on the throttle. I have a much better sense of how to drive this car, where its limits lie. Basically a sort of mild hit. As we brake hard through here, I overshoot, skid again, overshoot, double oversteer, but I actually kind of end up in an okay exit position, so I didn't lose too much time there. So I decided to commit and see it through. Braking here, 3rd gear, keep it nice and tight. Don't want to go out too wide. And again, brake early, turn in, keep it tight through here, can't get on the throttle hard, bit of trepidation there. This is of course the old version of the Nürburgring. It's an old scam with a divot on the outside there, making cars very, very unstable under power, so you have to be very careful. Braking hard, down to 3rd here, you got to carry as much speed as you can. I understeer unfortunately a little bit. My lack of load cells still the bane of my life. I can't quite finesse the braking to that last 5% of precision that I want, so I'm definitely losing a bit of time because of that. But still not tragic. I know it's recoverable, so I decide to push on ahead. As we blast on through, this is the most sustained climbing section of the track. Some really nice track texturing here in GT7. I really do like the track rendering. As I blip the brake, turn, get on the throttle again very quickly, used the whole track. Things can get very disastrous if you touch the grass on the outside there. Braking as soon as I hit the curb, down to 2nd. Pretty decent trajectory through there. Come out facing the carousel. Now we're going to brake as soon as the curb protrudes on the right. Brake down to 2nd gear. Keep it nice and tight through there. You can grab a lot of the inside. Try not to fling yourself out of the carousel. That would be a disastrous occurrence. Now into the traditional Sector 3, my favorite part of the track, as I've said many a time. Flat out here, unlike in the AMG and IA10. Down to 4th gear. Just finesse, and down to 3rd for this to keep it nice and tight. Hug the inside, gradually on the throttle, definitely don't want to max it out here. Lift, early on the brakes, keep it tight through here, and then just fly over that curb on the inside. I definitely could have cut that more than I did. This part is pretty much as I know it, just have to be very easy on the throttle. This is all making more and more sense to me. Most of this done in 3rd gear. Braking early through YouTube corner, not too bad. You definitely have to be careful here, very easy to spin out on the exit, much like real life. Bad cambering through here, wants to push you out wide, just have to keep it nice and tight. Fly over that outside curb. Light out through here completely. Then we're gonna smash the brake as soon as we land down into 4th, cut through the corner. Very easy for things to go awry there as we get a bit of a snap on the exit. And flat out through this whole section, just have to be committed to your line. It's all very blind, so we've of course done this track many times in the past, so we know what's up ahead. Orange marker on the right, brake here, 5th, keep it tight, 4th, and then 3rd. Keep it nice and tight through here. I go a little bit wider than I like. It's a little bit less tidy than I want to see through there. 3rd gear through the mini carousel. Try not to spin on the exit. I definitely had a wipeout there before. The lack of TC, definitely not my favorite thing in the world. As I lift, hug the inside, and then on the throttle immediately after. It's all about getting a good exit through here. You can lose so much time if you don't maximize the exit. So nice and easy. Time to kind of check your bearings, see where we're at. 5:49 on that sector. I know I have seconds in reserve. I've done this a few times before by this point. I had some marginal failures by a couple of milliseconds. A few frustrating moments. But I'm feeling a lot better about that split time. So I'm not going to go all the way out to the right. This car doesn't need it. Just the middle of the track. I'm going to wrap it back around to the left. Nice and easy through there. I know the tricky part is not going to be the braking zone so much, but the acceleration after it. So straighten up, brake hard, down to second gear, cut the curb on the right, on the throttle. Try not to spin there. Very easy to spin when you're bouncing off that curb. Brake down to first, try not to spin when the torque maxes out in first gear. And up to third, and across the line for 6:34.4. Tons of time in reserve, a whole 3.5 seconds. So that is the gold circuit experience here on the Nürburgring Nordschleife for 6 million credits. There we have it, the single most lucrative event currently in GT7, including all known bugs and glitches. The unfortunate thing is that this is a one-shot affair, so you can't keep farming the circuit experience for glorious payouts. After you complete this event, the best way to get cash will be the Dodge Tomahawk meets Tokyo Expressway route for around 2 to 3 million credits every hour. At least, until Polyphony patch it out very shortly. If you want to know more about that route before it gets fixed, let me know in the comments below and I'll create a short for it. Make sure you're subscribed to see it, grab a sweet King of the Nord shirt to celebrate your mastery of the Nordschleife, and until next time, I'll see you all later.